Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Siobhan, and in today's video I am going to be doing a soft glam everyday makeup look. So if you are interested in what I'm going to be doing, then please keep on watching. So my brows are already done, and I've just put them down with some hair styling wax. And then what I'm going to take is my e.l.f. concealer in the shade light beige, and I'm going to take that on a Jessup 142 concealer, but it says concealer buffer, sorry, not concealer brush. So I'm just going to pop some of that all over the lid, just like so. And then we're just going to blend that in. I'm sorry that I missed last week's upload. It's because when I done my Halloween look, the Joker look, my face was stained all here, and I ended up having a massive rash on my face because I scrubbed my skin so hard. I've still got a few little marks now, but my skin is all cleared up. It's not rough. So I thought I'd give my skin a break. So I can come and do some amazing looks with you guys. So that is all blended out nicely. What I'm going to do now is, I know I always use this palette. I'm going to go into my Revolution. This is the Reloaded Iconic Vitality palette. And I'm going to go in to this brown shade here. I'm sorry, it doesn't have any names on. And I'm just going to go in with my Jessup 227. This is the Luxe Soft Definer brush. So I'm just going to go into the palette and then go into the crease. Just like so. I am going to do one eye on camera and then go off camera, just so you guys know. And yes, I've got a little bit of orange still left on there, so that is why the colour is like this. But that is the colour I was going for anyway. So now that's in the crease, what I am going to take is... just going to take a clean brush. Oh, I'm just going to blend them edges out so it's nice and soft. Just like so. So now that that's blended out nicely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small a Jessup 223. This is a petite eye blender, and we're going to go into the dark brown ever so lightly, but I'm going to mix it with this like lighter shade here. I'm just going to stamp that on the outer corner of my eye. And I'm like wiggling the brush slightly. Just like that. And then I'm going to go in with my first brush that I use. So that's the 227. I'm just going to go above that and like almost like smudge it into the rest of the crease, and then of course blend them edges out nicely. Have you noticed I keep looking into here like there's a mirror there? Funny that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my concealer. I'm going to use a different one because I want to cut the crease with this. I'm going to use the Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Concealer in this shade C1. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop some at the back of my hand, just like so. And I'm going to take a flat brush, any flat brush that you've got. And how I like to cut my crease is I place some product like that, and then I look down but look up. And then I just start carving, following that line. Let me just get a little bit more product on my hand because, as always, I never have enough or I have too much. If you're wondering why I keep looking to the side, it is because I have my mirror there and I don't have one in my hand because I'm clever. Right, so that's my crease, my cut crease done. What I'm doing, I'm just taking off any excess product that might be on there. Just like so. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in with my Stripped and Bare Revolution palette. Ooh. And I'm going to go in to this shade, the very first top black shade just here. And I'm going to go in with you know what, I'm just going to go in with one of these eyeshadow brushes. Why not? I'm going to place that on top of the concealer that we've just placed. Just like so, just placing that on top. Just keep patting that on. Of course, you can use your finger to do this also. So just like that. Now what you want to do, you want to blend them colours out. So we're going to take this and go back in with that dark brown colour just to blend that a little bit nicely in so it's not so harsh on the edges. And I'm kind of like bringing it like towards my lash line. So I'm literally going like, I'm doing like little wiggle motions like this. just like so. I feel super happy with that. And then I'm going to go in with that original colour again. Mix it a little bit with a brown this time. And we're just going to blend that bit out. And go a little bit over. But I'm not touching the cut crease. I'm just going just above it. And then we are going to blend that out again with that super fluffy brush. There's no product on there. And we're just going to blend all of that out. So there's no harsh lines. Just like so. So that's one eye complete. So I am going to go off camera, do this eye. I will have my lashes on as well. And then we can go ahead and complete the face. Okay, I am back and my eyes are complete. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my e.l.f. This is a Moisture Lock Primer. So I'm just going to do a couple of pumps into my hand, just like so. Just 2, that's all I need. I'm just going to apply that onto my nose, a bit like moisturiser. I think 2 pumps might have been too much. Shows how long I've not been putting primer on for. To be honest, I've hardly been wearing any makeup because I've not had anywhere to go. Right, now that that's on, I'm going to go in with my Rimmel London 25 Hour Wear Full Coverage Foundation in the shade 200, which is soft beige. And take my flat foundation brush. Just dragging it down my neck. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dry beauty sponge. I'm just going to pounce this all into my skin. Just like so. For all you people that, you know, like ASMR and all that. Talk about my hair, like getting foundation in and that. I swear I constantly do that. I'm literally editing this video and I'm so sorry about this awful backdrop. Please forgive me. So now that that is blended out, I am going to go in with my Revolution Conceal and Hydrate Concealer in the shade C1, sorry. And I'm just going to do one dot there and then a dot there. And this is going to give me almost like a facelift, but also brighten. And now I'm gonna blend that in with my concealer brush. Which is the Jessup 142 brush. And I'm just going to pat it all in. What I'm doing is I'm just pushing it around, but also tapping at the same time. So I'm like pushing and tapping. And again on the other side. Just down my nose. I'm just swiping that. Because I'm going to go over with my sponge anyway. Right, so now that that's like almost blended, I'm just going to go ahead and take my sponge and just go around it all. I need to spray it. There we go. Just gonna really push that into the skin. Just blend, 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 and don't stop until you're happy with it. Okay, now what we are going to do, we are going to set our face with some powder. Of course, I'm going to go with my Rimmel Stay Matte powder in the shade Transparent. You guys know this is my favourite powder ever. I'm just going to powder all over the face. Right, now what I'm going to do quickly, I'm just going to set my face because I need a bit of life back. So I'm taking my Rose Soothing Glow Mist from Garnier. Just like so. This is before I do some bronze. I'm just going to fan my face. And now I'm going to go in with my Makeup Gallery. This is Good to Glow. This is a bronze shimmer in the shade Shimmer Light 3. I always struggle to open this. Oh, scrape my nail right across it. And I'm going to just take that on a angled brush, so let's get some product on that brush. And let's bronze up this face. So now that that's done, of course, as always, I forget to get my blush out, so give me 2 minutes and I'll be straight back to do some blush. Okay, so I'm taking my Revolution Definition palette. I'm just going to go into the pink shade right there. Every time I do blush, I always do big smiles. Well, not a big smile, but just so the apples of my cheeks are a bit plump. Because you want to apply the blush where you'd naturally blush. That's what the aim is. I always put a little bit on my nose. I always seem to do it, but I love the look it gives. And then I put a little bit on my forehead. You know, like towards the temples, but not exactly my temples. And a little bit on my chin. This is just to like bring my face back together again. Bring my face, because it's gone out somewhere, you see. Now what I'm going to take is my Revolution Sun Kiss highlighter, and this is in the shade Peach Kiss. If anyone knows me and watched my videos when I used to film them, well, go live on Facebook, you will know this. I went through it. I always used this like non-stop. A little bit on my nose. Just like so, and then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take just a little eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to go down the bridge of it. Just like so. Do your top lip. And above my brows. Just ever so slightly. You don't want to overpower with this, obviously, because it's such like a pinky shade. Don't want it looking wild. Now I'm going to spray, no, I'm not going to spray my face. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some lip liner. And this is in the shade Chauffeur from Revolution. So what I've done is I've lined my lips and then I've filled them in at the corners, just like so. And now I'm going to go in with my Makeup Gallery. This is the All About the Pout lipstick, and this is in the shade London, which is number 23. Right, just quickly, I'm going to go back in with that lip liner. I'm just going to add some definition. Just like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray my face for the final time. Just like so. So there you guys have it. This is the finished look. Yes, there's still a little bit of setting spray on my face. I'm just waiting for it to dry. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in my next video. If you got any video suggestions, then please comment them down below. I'm always open for new suggestions, and also everything will be linked in the description, including my Instagram, where you guys can follow me. So I will see you guys next week. Bye.